And we're live.
Live. Hello there, human beings. This is episode 35 of This Week in MeteorJS. And as you can guess, this is another special episode, as all episodes are special. And this one, we have a bit of help from our more smarter cousin, the AI. Or at least that's what we would like to say. Hello, everybody. My name is Dvorak, aka Storyteller CZ. I am joined here with Alim Gafar. Hello there.
How you doing? I am Alim Gafar, coming to you live from New York City.
And we have usually another host with us as well. But again, did you haven't joined us last week as well or not? I think he did not.
No.
A lot of happened this week, and my
he's been getting his alter ego set up.
Yeah, my memory buffers are not so well because I had so much things happening. But so this week, with all that thing happening, and him again not having time for us, we decided to, let's just say, go easy on ourselves, do some prompts, add some voice generators, some of the new video AI to produce our news section. So that will be coming up, and as usually it goes with AI, there might be some hiccups, some issues. So apologies in advance for that. We'll pick it up once we roll the news sections at the end. So let us know what you think of our new Jan AI after the segment. So make sure also you like our video as we go into it. Alim, anything else from your memory buffers that I have forgotten?
No, my stack is overflowed.
All right, so without further ado, let us check what the new technology can generate.
So first of all, let's start with the Meteor community packages updates in April. Many of you know already, but not everyone, so I'd like to introduce that. I'm a maintainer of many of the packages, or a co-maintainer in the Meteor community packages organization, which is on GitHub. You can find it there on the Meteor community packages. And we have lots of updates here. For example, there is a compatibility update for LD Collection 2, one of the most used packages out there, but also for A-Landing Roles, which has finally come to a release for 3.0 compatibility. So if you're upgrading your projects right now to Meteor 3,
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt for a second here. And Storyteller, the audio seems to have cut out for everybody. I think we might want to replay this. Can you hear me, Storyteller?
Yes, audio recognized. I see where the problem is. So let me jump back here and go for it.
and there should be no conflicts anymore. Please get back to me if there's any conflict you encounter. I'm currently very deep on these packages. There is an update on Meteor React Native, fixing a prototype pollution and some minor things, also some auto reconnecting issues. Check that out. Meteor React Native is now part of the Meteor community packages. So this is a semi-official package you can rely on. And if there's anything to report, just report it. Report it to me on YouTube, in Slack, on GitHub. We monitoring all the channels. Let us know. And there's one more thing to know. If you're currently in the progress of updating your packages and dependencies for 3.0 and you don't know where to start, or you're stuck in the process, just check this video out. It's from our YouTube channel. It's MeteorJS 3.0 packages and dependencies deep dive. Storyteller and I do 1.5 hour going through anything that's relevant when updating your project. It will be linked in the description. Okay, now coming to something official from the Meteor software team. 2 team members of the Meteor software team are leaving. This is on the one hand Tatjana, the DevRel manager, and Gabriel, the advocate and core MeteorJS developer. They are moving on to their new paths. And I wish you great luck in the future, and thank you all the time we had you. And I think there are also now open positions, not only for development, but also for Galaxy. So check out the Meteor X profile. There's everything there, and also how to apply. They also linked the job to the WeWork Meteor platform, which we covered last week, is now back alive. If you're interested in working with Meteor software, don't hesitate to apply. And even if you don't apply, welcome to the community and joining us. Coming to our next topic, which is not directly Meteor relevant, but this is more general topic. I found a cool tool, or not me, but one of my colleagues found a cool tool where you can use a prompt and compare basically benchmark LLMs in the wild. And this is great because you don't know which models are there. And then you can enter funny things like, why is MeteorJS great? And then you send this prompt and you have 2 models running some answers to you, and you can compare them, and then in the end give your decision which one is the better one. And let's see what they give us back for this question. I just came up with this question right now, so this is just instant response from the LLMs. And as you can see, they have a total different way of approaching this. Like the left one starts with real-time applications and single language, isomorphic code, built-in tools, cross-platform development, like 5 snappy, immediate things, while the other one giving you 10 things. And you have like blaze fast development, isomorphic JavaScript, integrated database, live reload, atomic deployment. This is an interesting term. I never heard this before. Atomic deployment. Wow, Galaxy guys, this is something you should put in your marketing brochures. Package ecosystem, of course, server-side rendering, which is interesting because this is not usually what Meteor is well known for, but it does support that. So yes, it's true. Community support, which is really nice. Meteor has a strong and supportive community with active forums, documentation, and a wide range of resources, making it easier for developers to learn and collaborate. Perfect, because this is how it is, guys. Flexibility, cross-platform. So, and I'm not sure which one I like more. So we have to get maybe a little bit deeper into this. For example, real-time applications has a built-in real-time functionality, making it easy to build applications that update data in real time without needing to refresh the page. This is great for chat apps, collaborative tools, and dashboards that need to display up-to-date data. And then do we have this here? We have this not here, for example, but it's not 100%. I think I'm for the right one, mostly because it picked up things like community, which is awesome, and atomic deployment. What an awesome term. So I would go for be is better. And now it reveals which they are. And this is interesting. This is Model A, Mixtral, 8x20B construct. This is some of these open source Llama things. I'm not sure. I'm not the LLM pro, but I really like that. And this is a model that looks really interesting. Quen 15272B chat. Okay, so I keep that in mind. I will definitely copy that and paste this somewhere. And yeah, so just for you, try that out, have fun with it, and save the models for whatever purpose you want to have. Let's get to the next topic. Okay, here's the next one on the V8 sandbox. So we had recent changes in the V8 and Node.js ecosystem, and this time we have something on the sandbox that was considered experimental for a while, but now it's finally published as a stable release in April this year. And this is interesting because they reported that many of the Chrome exploits caught in the wild last 3 years started out with a memory corruption vulnerability in Chrome render process that was exploited for remote code execution. And this is interesting. They're really classic corruption bugs, but instead subtle logic issues, which can in turn be exploited to corrupt memory. And yeah, they had to get a little bit deeper than just common memory safety solutions. And if you're into these things, if this is interesting and relevant for you, I also think this is relevant for anyone who is managing a multi-tenant system or multi-hosting system like Galaxy, for example. There might be that might be of interest here. So you should definitely check that out and go deeper in it, because this is now not experimental anymore. This is now a final release, and with that we should have even more increased security, not only in the Chrome but also in the Node.js world, because this is what Node.js is using, the V8, and I hope we will see in the future some benefits from that. Another interesting article on HTTP speed is this time comparing multiple JavaScript runtimes on the server. And this is interesting because you all know we covered a lot of these runtimes lately. And why is this article so interesting? Because in this article, there is a very detailed description on the methodology, on the setup, and on the why and how. And so, and then these numbers are, in my opinion, much more trustworthy. When I got these, when I know what's the methodology. It's also interesting that he compares locally hosted with edge hosted. So there's this edge computing, which is a little bit different here, that you can have a global, like a CDN like distribution, which is mostly deploying Cloudflare worker. So you can natively, you can't just do that with Node.js out of the box. And so this is really interesting. When edge computing is something interesting to you, if you never heard the term, you might start reading into it, especially if you have a globally distributed customer base and a high availability need for your application. And with that, I would like to, I don't want to get to the conclusion here. So you might read the article on your own. This is really interesting and informative. And basically the future of all these will be only benefit for every one of us, because everyone benefits from that competition between these runtimes and these services around these runtimes to make applications even better available with sometimes even less costs or less required resources. And I mean, this is perfect for everyone, right? And with that, I go into the next topic. In the article Optimizing JavaScript for Fun and for Profit, the author is going into a lot of very interesting concepts that make up for your better health. Actually, it's about writing less and also more performant and comprehensible code. So, for example, why would you want to compare strings if you can compare integers, which is basically what an enum does? There are integers to every position there, and then it's just double the performance. Of course, it's that, but it's also about comprehension. If you're writing TypeScript and you read this on the left with strings versus only the enum on the right, it makes totally sense that this is much more readable. And I know from Java also this writing style on the right. But this is not the only one. There are so many things in this article every one of us should read and try to apply on our projects. This is actually worth the gold. It's not only about performance, but he puts performance in the perspective. This is cool, but it's also about like code style and code quality. Give this definitely a shot. This is not only for MeteorJS folks, but this is really for anyone writing JavaScript. And I think the author of this, I think this is even yes, this is on GitHub, or the person is on GitHub. It's romgrk. I don't know at all how to pronounce that, but credits to you for this article. I really like it, and everybody should check it out. Have you heard of Radical? I have not, but in this article, it seems that it tries to become the free and distributed decentralized alternative to GitHub. And it's at its 1.0 release, so it seems to become something stable. And here it's interesting because decentralized is always, to me personally, a little bit negatively connoted, as you might all know, that a lot of these crypto, I wouldn't say scams, because not every crypto is already a scam, but lots of these crypto networks try to make a deal out of it, try to promote themselves as something decentralized, but in the end it's just about money. But this thing is interesting because this is really about ownership and privacy, because as they say, or they claim, that you will be the full owner of everything. And I mean, this is interesting from the point of, how to say, of power in this case. And that is also with the crypto. The initial idea of the crypto was rather about power and not about making as much as money as possible. And if you think about how much power Microsoft has by owning GitHub, which in turn is the biggest open source registry in the world, this is a lot of power. And here it's becoming interesting because here it's becoming interesting from the point of view with China. So they claim that China constantly makes trouble with GitHub, blocks stuff, DNS poisoning, and so on. And in turn, GitHub wants to prevent that. And there are also sometimes lots of government requests to take things down from GitHub. And they, of course, follow because they're a legitimate business. And if there is a government request that is in the bounds of the law, then they will remove that and so on. And with Radical, this should not be possible anymore, because when it's decentralized, and that's also the idea of this crypto, when it's decentralized, there is nothing that can prevent that from spreading. But as we all know, this also has lots of negative consequences, and I personally still don't know how it's done. Is that done like in crypto with some proof of work algorithms? I mean, we are using so much resources already. I'm happy actually that lots of these cryptos went down, and we just we remain only with a few of them. That's such an energy consumption, yeah, for things that still only matter partially. And I hope this is not done the same way. I hope there is a energy friendly solution to that. But we will keep an eye on this and inform you about this trend. If this becomes a trend, or if this is actually just another of these crypto style marketing moves. So we have a lawsuit on Google, and it's settled. I think the consumer privacy lawsuit. Who would have thought on that? Google is tracking data. Oh my god! They should destroy billions of data records because consumer claimed they were thinking they browsed privately when they're open their private browsing mode. Yeah, this little guy here, and oh, of course, surprise, surprise, they don't. And now Google has to destroy this data with high value, and they will not pay any damages, but they want to destroy the data. And I'm not so 100% sure if this will make anything any better. What I can take on that is definitely do your own measures and never think that private browsing is actually private. This is only about your local settings, about your history and stuff. Or for example, situations like me recording something here for the whole world, not exposing what socials and websites sign on and all that stuff. So I would keep a close eye on this, what will happen in the future. We all know that Google still does an active job on this whole privacy area to, I wouldn't say undermine, but they do a lot to make it hard for us, especially in the Chrome browser and their dominance on the browsing market. And we will keep track on that, what's coming up next, and let you definitely know. I think one of the biggest thing is here that they actively had it located as private data. So it's a little bit problematic, of course, that if something is marked private, that you shouldn't track it at all. And what I also think is that companies should start respecting the do not track header, which is the DNT header, which is not a standard, but we could make this a standard, and then websites could respect that. And we also don't need any cookie banners, because if I say do not track, then I don't want to be tracked, right? And this is also a question to you out there, to the MeteorJS community. Do you respect the DNT header in your applications actually? Or what are your privacy practices? Are you trying to be better, or do you simply not care? Of course, it's everything within the law, but I think there's still a difference between what you are allowed to do and what you could do. And we are done with our today's program. I hope you enjoyed this very compact news format this time with my personal thoughts on these things. And I hope I see you next week with our regular live stream episode. And if you don't want to miss next week, then please hit the subscribe button. You will get notified when our live starts, usually half an hour before. And if you like that episode, then hit the like button, give us some response, show us some love, and let us know what is a good video and what not. And with that, I wish you all a great weekend.
All right. So I think we have to make sure that people understand that the program's not quite over yet, because Jan did this, and
well, it was very hard to put all the prompts and everything
Sure.
together. But today, the voice and the video is very easy to make up in AI. And
we still have to
good to
keep
know.
training this AI, don't we? We have to, our training data is not complete, right?
Yeah, and as much as easy it is to make all these videos and the audio, we really just picked, what was it, a little bit over 10 seconds of the voice kind of for the initial testing, and then we kind of fit a little bit more of Jan to create this, and it could create the voice perfectly, as you could see. But as much as there is for these things, there is also recently there has been an article from Zapier, or actually from last year, but I kind of find it interesting because this kind of picks up on our discussion that we had on my channel, Alim, on Monday about the AI kind of replacing us as designers and web developers, especially now for the, say, simple initial task. And here they list all the different, let's say actually 5 of them, 5 AI website builders. And for kind of they are not exactly the most known, but from them, what they said, they all, how they looked at him, they liked them the most because they were producing something more interesting, specifically for Framer. But there are other websites. You might have heard about 10web, which has been doing that. Sadly, I ran out of my trial, so I will not be able to show you how that one generates. But here on Durable, what I did here is a quick preview of an AI generated website or landing page, you could say, that I put for could say my dad is planning I put like real estate in this location. This is the name. Kind of not sure where the palms are coming from and this kind of buildings, but I think just like search real estate and some random images, and the additional idea is kind of generates you from these different templates. But it's oftentimes a little bit more than just the basic templates.
Sure.
Here is another quick sample. This one even has or can have different, say looks, because I think in this case it would be probably with some of the CSS frameworks, and you can do dark and light. So it's like very easy to get started, although it doesn't make sense for this. So it's still quite bad. And let's see, here is one of them was mentioned, the Framer. So let me finish up here the prompt and see how it builds in. So the page should include current weather and contact information. Let's just add that in, click start, and let's see what will be generated here. So it at least got the name correctly.
That's a start.
And it starts adding here the text. It does the classical hero ones. It does some random thing here. Talks about the apartment, like luxury apartments. It adds some picture. I'm guessing, yes, it took something from the national park there, some random picture from the internet.
So it's not just putting like your ipsum lorem boilerplate text. It's actually putting some in-context text that it thinks belongs there. That's interesting.
Exactly. So that's kind of, I would say, the biggest part of the connection, and it generates it, all the breaking points and everything.
I think that's actually a good, evolution in terms of, I'll say, like, although this is happening and so on, I don't think that anybody should get entirely very worried about this, because we've had builders that are out there before. I think the thing that this does give you is, when you have the ipsum lorem, it's really hard sometimes to get your head wrapped around, like, does this thing really work for my industry? Does it work for my use case? And when you actually see the text in context, even though it may be completely wrong for like your company or your project, the fact that it's contextualized to the space that you're in makes it, I think, much more relevant. And so you can really kind of tell at that point, does this really work for me based on what I'm seeing here? I think this is a good aid. I don't think that these are necessarily like the end product. I think they're great helper starts, right?
Yeah, and in this case, if you look at the framer here, I just would have like the action to generate a page. It does this, and everything here now, I can just go in and start, adjusting it based on all the other options here. And now imagine, of course, with video, sound, and photos, it's more advanced because that's kind of where, it's so sexy. You can see, you can put it in Photoshop and do all the stuff here. So that's where the focus is right now. That's where the money flows. But I think it's only a matter of time before this really starts shifting more towards websites, especially for static and landing pages.
Sure.
This, I'm sorry. Anybody who has made their career on building landing pages and all that stuff, start looking for a new job, because you just cannot beat the price point of these things. That's at least I'm seeing it.
I think there's a role for an intermediary here, right? I mean, there have always been roles for intermediaries, and some intermediaries are far more technical than others. I think if your job is in marketing and your job is to build landing pages, I don't believe that you necessarily have to continue crafting by hand. A lot of firms, for instance, don't actually, their marketing department don't make their own landing pages. They hire an agency, and the agency builds out those landing pages for them based on the direction that they get from the company personnel in marketing. So I could see a situation, for instance, where instead of necessarily going to an agency, you could have a team of people that are building landing pages. And the other thing too is, if you're sophisticated and you're getting data on these things, then one of the things that you want to do is you want to do a lot of A/B testing. And A/B testing is very expensive when you're using an agency, right? So you're going to be a lot more careful about it. The turnaround times are going to be slower because there are people involved. In a case with something like this now, you could say I have a subscription, and now I can just iterate many, many times on different titles, different headings. Where do I place something? How big is the button? What color is the button? I can play with these things and publish them over and over again on a higher frequency than before. So I think what this can do is increase the velocity of testing changes for companies that are geared towards that. I think in some cases, there's small companies and people that will say, you know what, I can get my website made just by doing this. But haven't you met enough clients that actually, like, they say they want a website, but they have no idea what they want on it? And then part of your job as a developer is to guide them into the kind of information that they need to present and what they're going to get and how, and that you want to ask them things like, do you want to collect information? Are you just providing information? Are you doing some kind of transaction? Are you doing any kind of e-commerce? They don't even know. 9 times out of 10, some of these business people don't even know what they want from a website. They just know they want a website. And so even a tool like this is still difficult for them to use because it requires the presence of mind to understand what you want on that site. So I think there's still a role for somebody to guide them in all of this. But I mean, guys in the comments, tell me if I'm crazy. I mean, here we go. Kelly has a comment here. He says most people still can't change the settings on their iPhone.
Yeah, but like even that, it's in the future it's going to be they're just going to dictate to the phone what they want to change, and the AI is going to change that settings for them.
All right, I will tell you though that Amazon has been working on AI, especially voice controlled AI, for the longest time, until I turned the microphone off on my Alexa recently. Do you know how many times this thing has like done or said the wrong thing or given me the wrong information? Or I ask for a song and then it plays something completely different, right?
But also look at how it has improved over the years, from the initial versions. So, but I can like imagine, like with this, and I think there is a Figma plugin, or might be, or if not, there's going to be soon anyway, where you can just define, you could say, your company style, and then you very easily can just reuse that, or with AI to say, okay, build me a form with these things.
Yeah.
So that's that. And actually, we have him from Laurie from Wake, and he says most people do not know how to install updates.
Yep.
Why do you think the automatic updates in Windows are a thing? That's exactly the main reason.
Yeah, it's, you know, there is, I mean, some people trust automation, some people don't. Some people, I mean, you know, you've got the spectrum, right? Where some people will trust things entirely, and some people will trust things selectively, and some people have no trust whatsoever in automation and in something that comes out of machine. So I think that there is a role for this. It's going to fit someplace in where you have, you know, these builder tools that allow you to, you know, these sort of wizard-driven builders for building out applications and sites. And we're talking mostly websites here with this and web builders. But there's plenty of times when you get something built, but then there is some other functionality behind it, integrations, for instance, that are tied into some, you know, proprietary software, or it might just be like, you know, you run your entire company on your Excel spreadsheet, right? Like all of your inventory is in a spreadsheet, and now you've got to get the data out of that because you want to be able to, you know, use the information about, you know, your SKUs and generate, like, you know, cards on, you know, like things like that. You might be able to get a certain way here with these AI tools, but then the other parts that, you know, connect to these other weird pieces that developers end up doing a lot of work on to tie in, right? You're doing a lot of middleware, a lot of connection work. I don't think that goes away, at least not in the short form, right? I mean, Zapier does a lot of this also, right? They built a business on building these sort of smart connectors. But even there, you know, there's still webhooks that you might hook into that are completely customized, you know, APIs that are homegrown that you need to work with. And I remember working with a cable company when I was working at SpeedCycle, and we had Time Warner as one of our customers, and I was on the Time Warner site, and we were trying to get information. And Time Warner was built on all sorts of third-party IT products, right? They didn't really build anything themselves. They basically just got a whole bunch of different things, and they were using them. And some of them were like, I was going to say centuries old. That's not true, but, you know, really old. And in one of them, they had a DOS-based UI screen. You know, it's like a, you know, green and black screen, right? And we had to go in and scrape data off that because the fields for the data that was in whatever the data store was only like, you know, a couple of bytes. And so what they would do is on some of these fields, as the business had grown and the information they collected had changed, they took some of these fields that were meant for a certain thing and added new codes that had like no documentation, but only was internally represented at Time Warner. You have companies that have done things like this. You know, they've maybe hired a database developer to build a database for them, and then they have a memo field. And instead of adding columns for new information that they want later on, either because it's going to break the UI or it might break parts of the application, they instead add the information into the memo field and then parse out the memo field, right? And then get the information from there. That's just an example. I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be a memo field. It could be another string field. It could be something else. They may, you know, take a byte and then just add different, you know, bit formations, right, to indicate that this is a new code of some kind or whatever. And those things are not going to be picked up very easily because sometimes they're only represented by information that human to human knows hasn't been properly documented. You got to get it from somebody. And the AI is not going to be able to find that. It's just not, there's no documentation there. There's nothing for it to pick up on. And so developers are still going to have to go in there. They're still going to have to do interviews. They're still going to have to get requirements. They're still going to have to, you know, walk down to somebody and say, hey, what the hell does this mean, right, when I get this back? And I don't think that those things change overnight. I don't know if they change at all. And I think so. I think there's still an opportunity for developers to, you know, have a role in all of this and not be completely written off. We've got some responses here in the chat recently. Automatic updates in Windows makes most people want to smash their computer. From Kelly. Jan, I had Siri acting up when I was watching Witcher. He shouts at Siri quite a lot. We have Windows does not solve all updates automatically. It requires very many clicks. All right. I don't do anything with Windows anymore, so I'm going to take your word at that. Kelly's making some comments here on how some applications, some application users have done some stuff. Have you guys done a chatbot with Meteor yet? I did once. I think with Meteor 1.8. I have to look up that code again, but that was a toy connecting it to Alexa. And we need a bot that upgrades all projects to Meteor 3.
I wish it was that easy. But speaking of chatbots and everything, there is ChatGPT that is learned on Meteor documentation and so on. So if you go to the forums, I cannot find it right up because I don't remember the name of the topic, but it was guys from Vasco have done it.
Yeah, Meteor GPT, I think is what they called it.
GPT. Okay, I cannot find it now, but I also kind of wanted to quickly go back to the chatbot arena thing, because there is also a leaderboard that you can take a look on and kind of see overall, or let's see what are the option here, what other you have other categories, but overall what people are saying about the different AI models. And what I really like about it kind of links to where you can find more information about them or to get them. It tells you what organization it did, what's the license, what's the knowledge cutoff, which is pretty awesome because, of course, for me, immediately I start looking, okay, what are the non-proprietary ones? So we have Command R+, and then we have Mixtral, which is on Apache 2.0. Then we have the Meta one, which has, I don't think this will be much open license anyway. Alibaba, definitely not open license. So, and then there is
this the LM Sys? Is this the LM Sys chatbot arena? Okay.
So you can find it there. So this definitely, I would say, given how many it has, definitely a lot of stuff. So let's here quickly take a look on some of the alternatives to the big ones. Kind of finish up the news segment here. So we have the Yi here. So open source and bilingual LLM. So that one is definitely something I would check onto. Then there was the Command R+. So that looks like scalable LLM built for businesses or business, enterprise-grade workloads, and it's available first on Microsoft Azure. So it's kind of interesting that it starts on Azure, but yeah, they're targeting probably the corporate world with this one. And then there is finally Mistral AI.
Remember, by the way, that ChatGPT, OpenAI has a relationship with Microsoft. Microsoft's on Azure. Yeah. I think they've donated a number of Azure resources to the ChatGPT project. So, I think that's part of their investment, the $20 billion investment that they made. So I think it would make sense that Azure has a presence with a lot of this. But go on.
Yes. So, and finally, there is Mistral AI, which at least right now, this is as really open. And supposedly, super performant on all those things. So we shall see how things develop with all of these. Just want to kind of give you this as a alternative to the classical ChatGPT and similar ones that we constantly hear about in the news because they have billions of dollars in their war chest.
They do. Okay, we had that before. Hang on a second. Gut 4 1106 is higher than Claude 3 Opus again. So I guess he was observing the leaderboard before.
Yes.
And was making that comment. So Jan, I don't track these myself, so this is new, and I haven't gone to the leaderboard before, so this is actually new to me. I didn't realize that, that this was being tracked.
Yeah, well, it's leaderboard based on human feedback. It has like 700,000 votes, so 89 models. So I would say that's a pretty good one, but of course you'll have just different versions of the same.
Storyteller, do you notice what Jan has written here?
Nice.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, Jan. Yeah, GPT-4 1106 is what you meant over here, not that. Okay. All right. This is really cool stuff. So, yeah, I had no idea that this leaderboard existed at all. I wish I had known about this earlier. I don't know how I have gotten as deep into. You know what it is part of this explosion of different custom GPTs. Is it's too much. It's overwhelming. So I have trimmed back, except for the biggest ones that are out there in terms of looking at any of the other ones. I know that you look at a bunch of them pretty regularly, right? You've shared with me a few design ones. What was the favorite one that you were using for a while? Was
if you want not for design but like for images, I was using, it's called Leonardo.ai.
Yeah.
So that one I've been using for images. Let's see if I can. If I have my,
I use that to create my character images for Dungeons and Dragons. So there are a couple games I'm playing with friends, and it's been very helpful. Although it's very stubborn. Like when I've described certain things and then I ask for variations, it will sometimes not do it. But I've seen some amazing things.
It's a problem that we are trying to solve with Literary Universe as well, because we want to have at least until we can afford to hire artists and everything to generate our mascots that we are working on. And for that we need, let's say, some consistency, because usually with these image generators there is no consistency from one part to the other. Let me see if I can show some of my attempts. Yes, so you can actually see trying to generate one of our mascots. As you can see, like wildly different, and sometimes doesn't crazy things, but eventually, as you get better to it, you can create more kind of similar looking things. And here I'm playing a little bit more with other for creative writing. One thing I've noticed whenever I want like a uniform or anything, it just starts adding so many nonsenses on the uniform. As you can see here, these all these things.
It's got all sorts of weird embellishments.
Yes, so that is like one of the many things, and it can do a lot of things. It's primarily usually not sure if strangely or how to put it. Generation of people, and somebody had like really nice
in the public gallery. In the public galleries, there are some amazing work that people have done. Yeah.
like this castle. Not sure much, but somebody nicely commented that in the sci-fi and everything, it was the computers struggling with trying to learn emotions and have personality.
Yeah.
And so far, with the chatbots and everything, one of the first things that we actually right now, or what's being trying to be added, is personality and emotions and all that stuff. So in a way, sci-fi got it wrong, and things are a bit different. But let's move on from, even though this is fun and interesting, you can watch more on this discussion of the future of the industry and everything on my personal stream that was on Monday. And let's move on to the, let's say, next section.
Yep.
Or before that, anything else, Alim, that you kind of want to finish up, or that you want to?
No, I just,
convey?
I did want to, if we wanted to just continue just a little bit more, there was one really provocative statement that I saw recently from, it was Peter Thiel, that and it goes something like this, that that, what is it, math-based devs have a lot more to worry about from AI than like English majors or something like that, or humanities people. And I thought that was a very provocative statement to make, because it almost seemed that we should be looking at the unemployment line for developers. By the way, this unemployment line for developers has been a little bit of a scare for a while, and I think developers are a lot more flexible than maybe they give themselves credit for, and a lot smarter than they give themselves credit for. Sometimes you have to just remember that we build up on the stack, right? When I told you that there was a time when I was writing parsers in C, until we have like all these common parsers now. So why do you need to write parsers anymore? There are plenty of other things that you can do on top of it, and you kind of like build your career just going up, because at each stage there's some new level of abstraction that drops on top of it, and then you build on top of that, right? And there was a time when you were building your own social networks because there weren't any that existed, and then Facebook came in, and then they put an API on top of it. Now you're building applications on top of Facebook. You're not building Facebooks, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So this is, I think, also the situation that we're going to be facing with some of this AI stuff. And when Peter Thiel says that, that math devs have a lot more to worry about, I think, do they really? The second scare that I had run into at one point in my time was when there was a lot of offshoring that came at the very beginning of the what they call the aughts, right? The early 2000s, when everybody was like, okay, these are things that we could ship offshore, and there are plenty of developers in India, there are plenty of developers in Singapore and all over the world that you can hire that are just as smart or capable as people, in the developed countries, that, and you can get them for cheaper. And it turns out that there are all sorts of additional complexities that you deal with. There's time complexity, there is, cultural understanding, there is, this, sense of what urgency is, between these two groups, how loyalty plays into it. There are tons of other elements that come in that all of a sudden like raise the cost of something that was cheaper. And I think this is going to be true of any of these things. We're running into actually limits in terms of truthfulness in material that's composed by AI. So, there is a cost. Yes, it can generate a lot of content for you right away. But then when you look at the content, you may spend a lot of time going through, hundreds of pages of material, because there are inaccurate references that look fantastically convincing but are absolutely wrong. And we see this with attorneys getting caught by judges in court having generated briefs with references to cases that don't exist, right? So there's going to be a cost no matter what. There's no such thing as a free lunch, right? That's what it comes down to. And so there is a role for people to play in all of these things. And there's going to be developers. I think developers are going to be more like, like oracles, in a sense, which is there is some physical, mathematical tunings that you're going to do, and then there's going to be some, just as we do with the prompt engineering. You put in a prompt, you get some result, it doesn't look quite right. You go back in, you change some adjectives, you change some verbs, you rephrase things, you put it back in, you see what you get out. And so it's not exactly science, it's like science and art, more like an oracle, like throwing and reading the tea leaves, so to speak. I think we're kind of back to that a bit, and where developers play a role is developers are the ones that are kind of like tuning the machine to see what you can get, and then the practitioners in front of it are going to be the ones that are going to like say, okay, yeah, now that looks a little better. It's like the old tube TVs where they take the back off, the color is not quite coming right, so the technician adjusts the color tuning inside, and then you sit down and you're like, yeah, it doesn't look as green as it used to, right? It's almost correct, like the flesh tones are almost there, and you're the one that's kind of like, the business person, not the developer. The business person is the one that's kind of fine-tuning it a little bit to get the information that you want. But we do this in many different ways, and we do it in roughly different ways. Like when you think about like your database schemas, we try to optimize our schemas for writes and reads, right? And it depends on who the end user is and how they're reading data. That's going to have an impact on where we put our indexes and how we lay out the data so that we can actually get fast and performant responses that we then provide back to the end user. So we do this already. It's just different middleware. That's what I think. Let's see what, hang on, whatsoever.
I've already highlighted some of the comments. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry to work with many of these cheaper devs 9 times out of 10 to hold their hand. That's yes. Writing code faster usually gives natural what you want LLM to do in your code. Maybe the case. It depends. I think that's natural language explanation. It's I think it definitely is a new world in a lot of ways, right? It's definitely learning to ride a different type of bicycle. And when you get the folks that come in, it's like the folks that are native to the thing that you are using will find it easier to use. Just like there are folks that are really fluent in terms of how they use Twitter and so on, because when they were born, Twitter was there and they just kind of like learned how to walk into it. Whereas the people that were there before Twitter, many of them have difficulty adapting to it because it's short form expression, and how do you make something that's engagement in short form, and it's a skill. And I think that the folks that are born into something that's already there, it's natural background to them, so they just adapt to it. They learn how to use it very easily. Whereas others that have to come into something that is new to them have to adjust to it. And some people adjust better than others. And it's not necessarily that they're better people or worse people, it's just how they adjust to it. And that's just how the world has always worked. I don't think that changes very much. I do think that having these natural language interfaces like the chatbots and so on that allow you to express what you want and get something, even if it's not necessarily the thing that you exactly want, gets you closer to it than we have in the past. And I think that's really the exciting part of all of this. But it means that the intermediaries that have been there to kind of get that expression for you, their role has changed or will change or will be limited in some way. But in a sense, to me, like a lot of this is sort of an expression of why I like Meteor, right? It's like Meteor gets you closer to the end product without all those intermediate steps that you have to take. So that's kind of like my view on it. Anyway, maybe going off tangent here.
Yes, so let's finish on that. I think we'll have definitely a lot more talks and discussion on this in the future. So if you are still here, we hope we earned the like and subscription to our channel so that you can see about all the future discussions that we are going to have. So now, Alim, what is Galaxy?
Galaxy, do you want me to answer that, or is that rhetorical? Galaxy is Meteor Software's hosted cloud environment for hosting Meteor applications, and it's purpose built for Meteor, and it makes deploying Meteor applications really quick, seamless, and in a lot of ways painless. However, there's still a lot to learn when you're there. So although it takes away a lot of the friction about getting your application out into a hosting environment, there's still stuff that you need to do, and there's still stuff that you need to understand. And Jan, I understand that you're going to give us a little bit of a walkthrough on what.
Yes, I want today to share with you, let's say, 3 things that are not necessarily, or that I find sometimes hard for new people to find. So let me share with you one of my production projects here. And let me see how much I can zoom in to make this even clearer. So here we are in the container sections of Galaxy. You see we are running 2 double pro containers. And since we are on the pro version, we have here something called, under the performance view APM. You can also find that if you go or under the overview section, right next to performance. And this link is going to take you to something. Let's see if I can zoom this in. No. Okay, so I guess I have to share this. So it's going to take you to this, which used to be Kadira, which was acquired by Meteor Software in the past. And that will show you all the different things about your performance, all the stuff about, like response times for a subscription. You will be able to break it down, so we can then, click there, look for specific examples, see how things progress, so you can then debug. The same thing with methods. You can even, see current live queries, how everything is going. And of course, if you have any errors, then they will appear here. This can be quite overwhelming. So, and this goes to my second point. There is a guide to Galaxy. Yes, I call it like the hidden guide, because sometimes it's you can find it in the search, but it's a little bit more difficult to find in your own spot. It's galaxy-guide.meteor.com. I think there might be somewhere hidden link also in the Galaxy, but I always forget it, and so I have to get there here. And this one, I really encourage everybody, even if you're not using Galaxy, to check out, because it has a lot of other, best practices on deploying. And it has then here, Meteor APM section, where you can get all the information, how to use the APM, how to get it how to install it, what you need to have, and how do you then go on optimizing, for example, with uplog, but response time bottlenecks and other issues that might come up, so that you can have more performant application.
So Storyteller, this teaches you how to actually read your APM graphs and the different segments, and what the information that you get from it means, and how you can use that to fix your applications or make them more performant. Is that the idea?
Yes, that's the idea. Yeah, so it has all of that here, and the guide itself has a lot more. So that's part of Galaxy, but you can also go get there for free.
And for folks that are not very familiar, APM stands for Application Performance Monitor. So we use the term a lot. We make an assumption that everybody kind of knows what it is, but if you don't, that's what it means.
So before I address the comments and questions, I want to share here back under containers one last little trick, which I have been using recently quite often because we have some performance issues. Under each container, there are 3 icons hidden here. One is to shut down that specific container. So if the container suddenly starts maxing up the CPU memory or something, it just becomes a total mess. It might be better to quickly spin a new one and then kill it manually if it, for example, doesn't reach the threshold but it's super sluggish, or if you want to, if, for example, you have, say, 100 people or 100 connections on one container and the other two are completely empty and you want to kind of evenly distribute it, you can kill that container and then the connections from the container will be evenly distributed onto the remaining ones. So that's a pretty nice feature if one is giving you problem. And sometimes this happens when you have maybe too quick of a or maybe too slow of scaling, so that if you have initial influx, everybody gets into one container and then doesn't have the new containers don't have time to spin fast enough. You can also go to dedicated logs for that container. So in the logs, it's if you go to the log section, it's for everything, that all the containers. So here you can click and just see for that particular container. And the first icon here is to view your app using this specific container. I've used this in the past. For example, I spin up a new container and I send a link to people that are having issues to go to this new container, which has all the resources and everything. Or for, let's say, a demo before when everybody's working, I spin up like an extra container here, and because they need to do some, for example, a product demo, I spin up the extra container because they want to see real-time data or actual real data, not just our demo data. So I spin up a new container, give them the link so they have all that resources available for themselves until, of course, new people jump on it over time as things change.
Okay, we have a couple of comments I want to just bring in here while we're talking. When Galaxy takes care, will that be MongoDB Atlas?
So let me go on that. So right now, MongoDB, unless you're on the free tier, does not. Galaxy does not include MongoDB in could say in the hosting or in the container. You have to get it from a third-party software, with the exception of the free one, which is a special case. Most people usually get it from MongoDB Atlas, which is the official hosting for MongoDB. Let me just okay. Let's see if I can. Let's see if I can find the official promo. Here we go. So, and for me, I really love Atlas. The only thing I'm sad about that I don't have right now enough of an income and users to be on the M30 version, which then gives you a lot more additional features. And it is something that I would love to see more kind of Galaxy become. But there has been talk about bringing MongoDB as part of the offering, which would then include that as well. I hope it's going to be optional because I would kind of like to stick with MongoDB Atlas. But I understand for especially smaller project, it would be much more cheaper and easier to have all of that included together. So that is an improvement that Galaxy is going to have in the future. So that especially in the beginning, that's going to be absolutely perfect. I'm just also personally want to support always the company behind the technology that I'm using. So that's one of the reasons why I'm personally using MongoDB Atlas. But once it's included, another thing that's also being talked about being included is Redis, which we've covered a little bit in one of our previous episodes about the Redis changing their license. I think that's 3 weeks back.
Sure.
If I remember correctly, that was when I was in America. So we've covered that. So that one we'll see how that one goes, and I will have that covered on my stream as well in the future when I look on Redis, on upload Redis as well. So let's see. Next one is yes, and this kind of to make it clear, Galaxy is from Meteor Software, and Atlas is from MongoDB themselves as well.
I just want to also point out that, and I don't know how far they're going to go with this, but I think it'd be interesting if Meteor is also able to offer FerretDB once it's properly tested as an additional option for a back end for Meteor deployments. So, as a matter of fact, I think this is something I want to play with in the next month. Build an application, use FerretDB as the back end, and see how that works, and see if we can still get, you know, our typical reactive behavior. I think the project I want to try is just a project which would have data in a MongoDB database, and then I would swap out because it's supposed to be a drop-in, a quote drop-in, replacement for MongoDB, and see whether or not, if I upload my data into the Postgres databases, that it would continue and work as effectively. So I think this is a project I would like to try. I would like to try it also, running it from Galaxy and see whether or not that works. We're going to see. I mean, if I can't find a hosted or proper hosted environment, I might just do like a tunnel to, with ngrok to, a local container that's running FerretDB, and then see what happens there. So there's some things that we can play with to see how this will work in the future. But in the meantime, why don't we get back to Galaxy?
Yes, so that was, for Galaxy, as I said, especially, I will recommend using, kind of looking at these features. There is much more, which we'll be covering in the future. Specifically, the version sections is something that I'll be delving into. So once again, look at the APM. Look at, but just a big reminder, the APM is only for pro containers. So they are a little bit extra instead of the standard ones. So
you wouldn't get it
aware
with
of that.
Essentials? You wouldn't get it with Essentials planned?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's one thing to remember by that. And final note on the APM, it was revealed that in the future, the current APM is going to be discontinued. We mentioned it last time as well. And instead, it's going to use Monte APM, which is run by Southern. And just so that Meteor software themselves can focus more on Galaxy as well. And I believe this is going to be as part of the new redesign that I am super excited about, that hopefully will be coming soon.
Yeah, there is one other thing I want to bring up here. And gosh, why am I missing it now? Hello, what happened here? Where is the pricing page?
Well,
it's, yeah, so there is on the pricing page, you can go and you can check out the different plans. There is a free plan, as you guys know. There's the essentials, and then there's a professional that Storytel has been talking about. And with the, if you are trying to run if you're trying to run, for instance, on the professional plan, and you want to try to get the APM to use and work with, there are some models down below that you could take a look at and price out. And if you're running a compact container on the Pro plan, the expected amount that you might pay is going to be about $40 a month. Now, Meteor Software has been generous enough to offer through us a discount of $60 in Galaxy credits if you want to try it out. And so you get $60. You don't have to use a Pro plan. You could use the essentials if you want, and then use the container types that you've got. And you can use this for a few months with that. But if you want to just test it out and you haven't tried it yet, and you'd like to get a sense of what it would be like to do so, then you can use the link down below that we have that's scrolling right now, which goes to a landing page with the offer for this discount, and you can use the dispatches -60 coupon code to get your free $60 worth of Galaxy credits. So, they're giving $60 away of cloud credits to you. If I think it's a pretty good deal. So give it a try, and see what you think.
All right, and you can also let us know what you think by hitting that like button or
Yep.
dislike if you really
No
don't
dislikes,
think we
please.
deserve it. Well, it's even bad press is press, and but yeah, we would prefer like buttons to be loved and adored. And let's see.
And we have Simon. Hey, Simon. It's good. He's saying he's live from Africa, of course. Hey, Simon, are you in Nigeria? I think I read someplace in something you posted a long time ago that that's where you were hailing from. But Simon's a pretty regular stream viewer that pops in here with the live. So happy to have him. We have Jan and Lori on the live stream chat also. They've been participating for a while during this session. So Simon had said that he wishes Atlas could be part of Galaxy, so they don't need to play two different places. And he's from Ghana. Simon says he's from Ghana. Okay, so West Coast Africa still though, right? So very cool. It's good to have you again, Simon. I think this is something I think we've heard a few times and has been mentioned to the folks over at Meteor Software, is that people want to have all their resources in one unified billing view, right? They don't want to have to go to different resources. So the more convenient they can make it, if Galaxy is able to bring those resources together and give them a single unified view of all their resources, then that would be good. There's even a possibility, I think, that even if you get your resources from a third party, that there is a way, and there are companies that do this, that will give you like an enterprise, view layer that allows you to, hook into your other resources through their APIs and then see it in one panel. And I think, again, if Meteor Software went down that path of giving this unified view, whether they have the resources at Galaxy or not, would make a better user experience for managing applications, especially Meteor applications. It's something I hope that the team takes up. And so, Storyteller, it sounds like you know something about this, or
no? MongoDB itself is going to be, at least that's what was revealed so far, is going to be part of Galaxy offering. We shall see how that's going to transcend, or how it's not going to exactly going to be, because there is the option that's just going to be added in and you don't have to set up anything and it's just going to run. But the real value, I think, of Atlas itself is the extra features. So having that being added in somehow, or some unified interface, it would be, I think that's maybe even more down in the future, also depending of what MongoDB wants to do or allow. So
right. Yeah. Look, I mean, there's Atlas is first in class for what it does.
Yeah.
No doubt, right? And for some people, they will prefer to stay with Atlas if that's the case.
That's my case.
And in your case, that is the case, right? And in some cases, people are going to be like, I just need the database and I need to have just basic views into the database, and that's it. And I'll use Compass or something else in order to manage any specific things that I need to do there. And that's fine too. So it depends, I think, on your use case and your trust level, right? So I think that's there. I think one of the great things about Atlas is because it's built by the Meteor team. Built by the MongoDB team. Every time there is a new release of MongoDB, they put it on Atlas before anybody else, and then they get to prove it out, and you get access to it, whether or not depending on how if it's going to be bringing a fix or a feature that you're looking for, you may want to be on the latest version, and that you're going to have it before everybody else, basically, like any other hosting. So that is something to be said about that too. So what's Jan saying here? Bundling would also take care of ensuring DB and server are in the same data center. Okay.
To that I'd say usually it doesn't matter because Galaxy underneath is running on AWS, and with MongoDB you can choose exactly the same data center because they also run on AWS, but you can also choose Azure and Google and all the other big ones.
And then you can use VPC peering.
So that's kind of the benefit, but that is with Atlas, at least that is not an issue because you select the same data center and you are happy. Though if you kind of bundle maybe together, they might be even closer than in the data center. So that kind of, but then we get into the nitty gritty, and that might be for maybe some other time, and maybe people who know much better on the hardware side of how that would go.
Yeah. Okay. So that is, I believe, our Understanding Meteor section. This section is sponsored by Galaxy, which is a media software product that we've been chatting about. Is there anything else that we need to add here, Jan?
No, I think that check out our promo code that we have. Dispatch is 60. Once you can add that in following the address, and you can get a little bit over a month of your initial start with Galaxy. So for example, we go here with the essentials, you can get maybe 2 months on the compact one for free. If you go for a professional, for compact it will be a little bit over a month. So definitely a good way to try it out if you have an application that is ready to go to production.
And I'm going to hang on a second. I'm just going to stop this from scrolling for a minute so that for the folks that are getting dizzy from that, why am I not able to? Oh, there we go. All right. So I'm just going to put it up here, and you can see it. Okay. And so the landing page that you go to is meteor.software/dispatches-offer. And at the very bottom of that page, let me see if I can just share it with you, is where you would put the coupon code. So meteor software.
I think I've got it.
You got it?
There we go.
There you go. All right. And at the very bottom is the area with coupon code. And that is where you would put in dispatches-60. And you'll have to put in, and then you'll fill out the form, and then you get your $60. So go check it out, play with it, try it out. I think it's worth doing. All righty. And with that, I think we are getting close to the end here, aren't we? And I don't mean like mortally, like we're still alive. We're going to come back next week. We're not dying. We're not,
Well, I will have to reset my servers for that. Just a lot of stuff in the memory. The garbage collector needs to run.
So. Yeah, well, I just reboot. I just go over the weekend, and I just, turn the power off, bring it back on again, and that's where we go with that. So just a couple of reminders to folks here, which is support open source software. Meteor Software is an open source project. One of the ways that you can support it is by getting involved in helping out on the community packages, filing pull requests if you find that there's an issue and you need to get it resolved. I mean, you could file an issue, but if you're able to actually resolve that issue, then put a pull request in and let the team know. And that could be for the core software or the media packages, or create a package, put something out there and share it with others so that they can get the benefit of a problem that you have solved. And that could be an npm package, or it could be a Meteor package. But if you're limited in terms of what you can do, and you benefit from the fact that we have software like Meteor, and we also have these packages like a landings rolls, or the socialized packages that Kelly and Jan Dvorak, storyteller, have built, or other packages out there that you have found. Then one of the things you can do is you can also support those developers, and you can support them a couple of ways. One is you could go to the project itself and give the project a star if you're using it. Let people know that you've got some benefit from it, you're enjoying it, it's useful to you, and putting that star in allows other people to discover it, and also shows your appreciation to the developer. And if you can go a little further, some of the developers have their own sponsorship pages. It could be Patreon, and in many cases, they're often GitHub sponsor pages. And both the Jan brothers of the show, Jan Dvorak, who is storyteller, or Jan Küster, who is an AI, have these GitHub developer pages. So if you would like to sponsor them and let them know that that you appreciate the work that they do, not only in the software that they do there, but in the program that we do every week here, then please reach out and help them out with that. You could just,
Yes, we need really sponsorship. It helps a lot, specifically with Jan's. We need sponsorship so we don't have to shut down the generation servers and all of that stuff. So if you want more AI Jan, then please sponsor our servers here via the GitHub sponsors. And that's it for me.
That's it for you. So next week we're going to be chatting about testing, software testing, and test harnesses, test methodologies, updates in the testing world for JavaScript developers. So we're going to be bringing that to you next week. If you have any suggestions for us on the kinds of content that you might want to see, put it in the chat. Put it in the comments. When you come to this video after this live session has gone through and you have some ideas, let us know there. Or you could find us on the community Slack at Meteor, or in the forums. So any of those 3 places, let us know what it is that you'd like us to see. But make sure, if you're doing it in any that is not related to the comment section here, make sure that you indicate that this is for the Meteor Dispatches podcast. So that way we know that you've written it for us, and that is something that we should pay attention to. We read all the comments, believe it or not, and we do respond to them more often than not. I think there have only been a handful of times that perhaps we have overlooked something, but we try not to. So, we do want the interaction. We love it when people come and are participating in the chat live real time. And if you participate with us by posting comments, we like that too. So we're all about the community. We're all about building this community. We want you to be part of it. We want more participation. And this is why we do this program. We're looking to get this community more active. And if you can be more active in it and you want to have a role, let us know. All right. And Jan, before I say have a good weekend to everybody, you have anything, last words or last thoughts that you want to share?
Error, memory overflow, shutting down. And
with that, I'm going to say have a great weekend, guys.